Hello everyone. I want to talk about C program structures today, and this is my first video on C++ programming. So, what is C++ program structure? So, the C program structure is very simple, and it starts with a header section, and then there is a main function. So the header section is a section where you include your files that are outside your program, and you can include global variables that you can use throughout your program. Okay, and you can define some constant values. So all of these I will explain to you in much better way. Okay, so just hang on. So the main function is a function where you put all your C++ statements. Okay, so what kind of statements? What is a statement? A statement in C++ is any line that ends with a semicolon. Okay, so statement does a lot of things. So you can declare a variable. Okay, and a variable is something that store a value, and I'll talk more about variables in another video. And variable values can be used to write expressions, so you can add up two numbers or subtract two numbers. Okay, a statement is also something like you print an output, print a result of addition or subtraction or any mathematical expression. You can print the result of your program using a statement. So a statement is anything easily recognizable, but when you see a semicolon at the end of it. So let me put a dummy statement here. Okay, statement 1 ends with a semicolon. Statement 2 ends with a semicolon. Oops, I think I missed a E. So you can go on like this. You can add more statements, as many as you can So statement, when you put all statements in within your main program, you can just go ahead and close it. Okay, so that's all we have in C++ program structure. This is the simplest structure you can see, and I will explain each and every section for you in the next couple of minutes. So we first discuss about the header section. Okay, so the header section is nothing but it's a section given for us to include some file, right? C++ has some built-in functions. A function is something that carries out some task for you. So there can be two types of function. One that you define yourself, you write it yourself, and another type of function is something that comes with a compiler, the C program compiler, where you write your programs. So the header section contains header files. Okay, and these files end with .h extension. For example, all math functions are in math.h. Okay, so in C++, your input comes through istream.h. This is the header file that takes your input, and this is the header file. The ostream is a stream header file that takes your output. So there is another one which include both IO input and output. So it's called iostream.h, and most of our program will use this one, the iostream.h. So the header file, as I said, contains lot of functions which are not user defined. They are already there with the compiler. So all you need to do is to include them in the header file. How do you do that? So to include a header file, you have to use an pound sign, use the keyword include, and the name of the file. So in my case, I'll use iostream, iostream.h. So when you use this kind of symbol, greater than and less than symbol, you don't have to use the .h. But in case you use double quotes, you may have to use the .h extension. So this one I will have to change it like this. Okay, so the difference is whenever you run your program, and when you run your program, there are directories where it will look for these files. Okay, so when you include the double quotes, the program looks at its local directory for this information, this file, and if not, then it goes to a different folder and looks for the header file. Okay, so basically there are a lot of folders, and there's a folder called include, and that contains all these headers. So probably go ahead and look for the header file in that directory. Okay, so difference is when you use double quotes, you look for the current directory where the program is you're writing the program from. And if you do this, if you use a greater than and a less than sign, it will directly go to the include folder, the folder which within your compiler that contains all the header files, and look for the header file. Okay, so sometime to define a constant value. Okay, so we'll talk about constant in another video, but to define a constant, again you use a pound sign and then use the keyword define. Okay, and then give a name, like let me give a name here, null, and then the constant that you want to assign. So null is equivalent to 0, so I assign as 0. So this is another way. But if you see these lines are not ending with any semicolon. Okay, these are some statement which do not ends with a semicolon. All right, so only those statements which are within main or which are inside any function, they have a semicolon. All right, but this is not entirely true, but in most cases it's true. Okay, in most cases you will find that inside a function you have statements that terminates with a semicolon. So you can define some global variables. So that is an example of header section where a statement ends with a semicolon. So if you do like this, you type integer, the value, the data type, and a variable called number, and assign a value to the variable, and then ends with a semicolon. So this is something that can be defined inside the header section. Okay, so there's no restriction for that. So next I want to talk about the main functions. Okay, so main function is a function that contains the main program. Okay, all your program logic, everything is within your main function. Okay, so you can write many sentences, many statements within your main function, or you can call other functions from within the main function. Okay, so it opens with a bracket. This means you can begin writing your statement. You can just go ahead and type your statements. So for example, let me define something, declare a variable here. It's called number, and it's equal to 10. This is a simple statement, and as I mentioned, we'll talk about variables in another video. and you want to call a function, and this function is cout. Okay, in C++, whenever you want to print something on your screen, you use cout and this symbol, which means you can print your output on a console, and then you print the value, you put the value which you want to print. So I'm just putting my number here, the variable number, and this is again a statement, so you can end this with a semicolon. Okay, now the output of this program is very obvious, so output would be 10. This is the output. Okay, quite simple, right? And you should not forget, see, I have made a mistake here. So I opened my main function but never close it, so this will result in an error. You must close every parenthesis, every bracket that you write in your program. If you don't do that, the program will give a lot of error messages. Okay, so you must close opening braces and parentheses, and that's how you can write a proper program. So putting all things together, let's create a small program and see how it looks. See how the entire C++ program structure looks like. So first you write include, and then you include header file. I'm using this notation here, and then type main, and since main is a function, there is a parenthesis, a pair of parentheses at the end of main. Now one more thing, that by default the main is of type integer. Okay, so every function has a type value, and by default main is of integer type. But now my program is not going to return anything. After the program is executed, it's not going to return any value. So if it's not going to return any value, I should put a void main. That means it's not going to return anything. And then I put my opening braces. Now in this program I don't want to do anything. You probably know what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a statement here, but my statement will not do anything. It just prints some value. So I put cout. Now in the previous example we put a number, right? But this time I'm going to print something. So I put my name is Peter. So it means that using cout, I'm going to print this characters and this string, and because this is a string of characters, I'm putting in double quotes here. So I'm typing a string, and that's the reason I have to put a double quote here. Okay, now even the single quote works. Okay, but the convention is that whenever you have a single letter or single character, then you use the single quotes. Okay, that's the convention, but you can use anything you like. Now this will print the name of the this will print my name is Peter. That's what it's going to print, and don't forget to close the braces. So this is the structure of C++ program. It's quite simple, but in more videos, in coming videos, you'll see that the structure remains same, but there are other things that we need to include within the program in order to make it in order to write the complex programs. We need to add more functions, we need to declare global variables. So these sort of things we need to do in order to write the complex program. But right now I want to understand the basic structure of C++ program. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching.